Hello and welcome to Remember, the show all about histories, mysteries and revenge. It's always been about revenge. I'm still out here, waiting in the shadows, like some sort of vengeful spirit, or one of the more aggressive magpies.
I tried to remember when I tried to make friends with the baby crow that was in my backyard.
I do.
Unfortunately, fortunately, the baby crow's family came and kind of got him. But I was so ready. I was putting cat food outside. I was like, I'm going to have a crow friend because they remember. And I thought of it because you don't want to get on the bad side of a crow because they hold a grudge.
And the family will hatch a plan, lift up the shutters of your house. You've got magpies inside the house, a bunch of crows eating your food. It's going to be a whole mess. Your cats, they're not the type of cats that are going to deal with that type of situation.
They're going to be hiding
Paula.
under the bed. Meanwhile, the whole house is covered in bird poop.
Nightmare. I am joined by Watashi no Utsukushi Yujin, my beautiful friend, Paula Deming.
Is that what that means? What you've just said?
It is. It actually does.
That's actually a really nice intro for once.
And they call me, when they need my help with vengeance, simply Kanashi Kodokuna Otoko.
What does that mean?
It means I think it means the sad, lonely man. It's actually not as nice as they said it. This week we are off to Japan to hear one, if not the most over-the-top revenge stories of all time, the 47 Ronin. Though technically it's a mix between revenge and vengeance, which I did look up. The difference is that revenge is something you do on your own behalf and vengeance is something you do on someone else's behalf. So now we know. We've got facts.
Now we know.
You can't go away thinking I didn't learn anything.
That's right. You learned something. Deal with it.
Unless they already knew that.
They might have, but I doubt it. Let us know.
Okay, let's get some fun out of the way up front and contextualize very briefly the state of the Japanese world at the turn of the 18th century.
Get the fun out of the way so we can start learning.
In the
learning with the Ronin, with the Ronin. Learning with the Ronin.
If you say it wrong, it rhymes. In the early 1700s, Japan was under the rule of the Tokugawa shogunate, headed up, unsurprisingly, by the Tokugawa family based in Edo, which is modern-day Tokyo. Japan was entrenched in a feudal system that, to the outside world, had they been allowed to peer in, would have seemed perhaps strict. The Tokugawa shogunate was at the top above the regional daimyo. These are feudal lords who ruled over their respective domains. And despite the isolationist policy, sakoku, there was frankly both massive economic and cultural growth in Japan. For instance, this was woodblock printing time, the Great Wave of Kanagawa by Hokusai, which I've got behind me. And I will say, the shogunate did implement a bunch of laws, one that protected dogs from abuse and mistreatment.
Well, that's pretty good. You can't totally hate a person who does something like that.
Though, of course, he would punish those who killed or injured dogs with death. But this period of relative peace hit one class of people hard, the samurai. Samurai were the military elite responsible for protecting their lords and maintaining order within their domains, and order was pretty good, so they began their decline in society. And our story starts with samurai.
So there was too much peace, so samurai didn't really have anything to do?
In a way, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's New Year in Japan, a time where the shogun or top dog samurai and the emperor would send each other messages. Essentially, this was a formal ceremony based tradition, emphasis on the formal ceremony. So a bunch of samurai would need to go to Edo and basically be ceremonial in Edo Castle. The daimyos, or sankin kotai, there's going to be a lot of Japanese in this. I do not speak Japanese, so I'm going to try.
You're going to do your best, and that's all that we can ask of you, really.
They were organising these festivities, these being Asano, head of the Ako clan, and Kami, another daimyo. Side note, sankin kotai is basically when daimyos would have to serve in the castle for a year, they were being given strict lessons on etiquette of the shogunate by Kira, a high-ranking official in the castle.
Okay.
So we've got these leaders of these samurai clans who have gone to Edo to serve in the castle. They're doing these ceremonies. They don't know how these ceremonies run, so they need to get the guidance from a guy who works in the castle called Kira.
I don't know why you would trust Kira Nerys to give anyone etiquette lessons, because I've never seen anyone care less about etiquette than Kira from Deep Space Nine. But sure, okay.
One of the best things that ever happened to Deep Space Nine is eventually she puts on a Starfleet uniform and you go, yes, this is ace. Now, we don't know exactly why, and there are a bunch of theories, but for some reason, and against perhaps the better judgment of Asano, there is a loud cry of pain heard ringing to the castle halls as Asano attempts to murder Kira. Kira's face and back are badly slashed, and guards descend upon Asano.
Kira, the one teaching them stuff.
Yeah.
Found out that Kira was part of the resistance movement on Bajor. I'm going to stop making a bunch of Star Trek Deep Space Nine references because not everyone's going to get it, and then they're going to be like, these references are stupid. Stop making them because they don't know them.
This is really bad.
Like you're just plowing. You're like, I'm not even going to acknowledge it. I'm making them for you, Matthew, because I know how much you love Deep Space Nine. I don't like it. It's a dumb show.
It's not a dumb show. It's my favourite of all the Star Treks, if you don't count Voyager.
TNG. Okay, now we really are done talking about Star Trek.
Absolutely not for TNG. It's a good show, but it's by no means my favourite.
The best TV show of all time. Okay, now we're done. How many times have I said it? 3. So now it's real.
This is very bad for Asano and his clan. Firstly, the Emperor sentenced Asano to seppuku, or ritual suicide.
That's
he was dead. That's
thing where you like cut in a square or whatever around your torso.
It's considered an honourable death. It's an honourable way to pay for what you've done. It's in some ways seen as a mercy to allow someone to perform seppuku rather than being executed outright as a criminal. He was dead the same day of the attack, but his clan was to be disbanded, their land seized, and their ranks of samurai were taken away from them. You'd imagine that they'd be angry at their leader, Asano, for doing something so reckless or stupid that essentially ruined their lives. But something else entirely happened.
Yeah, so Asano kills Kira, then dies, sentenced to death.
Seppuku, yeah.
And then his whole clan is dishonored, but they're not mad at him.
Firstly, why did Asano attack Kira?
Yeah, why?
This is one of the resounding questions of all of this, but there are a bunch of theories. In some accounts, Kira was an arsehole who repeatedly insulted and provoked Asano during their interactions. And Asano, who was perhaps prideful and quick to anger, eventually lost his patience. He did shout, it's believed, "This is for the grudge from that day," which I do imagine sounds better in Japanese.
Also, man, can you imagine if Asano had been around in the time of like social media? It sounds like he'd been a real vague booker. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Imagine him in any parking lot. It's like, this is for the grudge of that day.
I'm like, can you be more specific? Like, what grudge, what day? Can I know what you're killing me over? Like, what are you talking about?
Another theory has to do with financial issues between the two, that Kira demanded bribes or gifts. A diary from that time does describe Kira as arrogant. As well, maybe Kira was forcing payment from Asano in exchange for teaching him core etiquette, and this enraged him. Or maybe Kira left things out from his teachings in order to embarrass Asano. Frankly, we don't know what the hell happened, and we'll never know. But we do know what happened next.
That one I'll buy, that last one, because that I feel like is something you would be like, this is for the thing that happened that day. This is for that ceremony you missed, you forgot to teach me a part of, and then I was shamed in front of everyone, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so that's the one I'm choosing to believe.
You're choosing to believe that one,
As
that's
fact,
fine.
yes. And that's how a history podcast works. I'm choosing to believe this as fact. That's actually how conspiracy works, but...
Asano's clan, the Akko clan, were not thrilled when they heard about all this. Obviously, having their titles and land stripped from them, but also because they felt as though some punishment should have been given to Kira for whatever he did to provoke the attack, which doesn't feel right in today's standards, because you could see this as an unprovoked attack. But essentially, because it was traditional for when two samurai got in a fight that they both get the same punishment, regardless of who started it, Kira never drew his sword, and this all happened during a ceremony, so you can't really call it a fight.
Right.
But in the eyes of the Akko clan, Kira had got away with it.
I mean, because to them, they're thinking, like, Kira started the fight with whatever Kira did to anger Asano.
Yeah. In some ways, you could see it that way. Another samurai and daimyos of the castle were angry that he'd been so quickly sentenced to seppuku.
Huh.
So there's a guy called Oishi, and he's now the de facto head of the Akko clan. And let's just say, tensions were high. Some wanted to commit seppuku as well to show fealty to the shogun. Some wanted to defend their castle as it had been taken from them. And some wanted to go and murder Kira. All valid ideas.
Oh, wait, Kira didn't die.
No.
Oh, I thought Kira died from this whole thing. No, so Kira has been... That's why I was like, how can you continue to punish Kira? Kira died, but no, Kira was attacked, somehow didn't die from his injuries.
Imagine that Asano got dragged off, Kira's been slashed in the back and on the face, but he's not dead.
Got it. He's not dead yet.
Oishi, who had been Asano's main advisor, now had a dilemma to face. The orders were in, and eventually the shogun's forces would turn up to seize the castle. And there were another 300 men whose fate hung in his former leader's actions. He decides to allow the seizure to happen. He has hopes that the Akko clan could live on, headed by Asano's brother, who, though wasn't involved at the time, was still due punishment due to being Asano's brother.
I don't like that. This is like, it's not fair that one person's action affects so many other people who had nothing to do with it. I don't like that.
I mean, it's a classic controlling... It's a very classic controlling system that if you do something, we're going to punish you and your family. It stops people from doing things a lot, but it didn't stop Asano.
Yeah. Well, it's like when I was in elementary school, they sat us in groups and be like, your whole group's table needs to be cleaned off before you can go to recess. And the whole point was to get the other people in the group to be like, you need to clean your table off so that we can all go to recess. And that's not really fair.
That's not how it works.
That's not a
That's
good...
not how it works, though.
Peer pressure is bad in all ways, I think. Except for in the ways where it tells you, it helps you be more healthy. But, like, it's bad.
I don't know. All the cool kids are smoking. So I feel like you should at least try it. You should just hold a cigarette
You
and
just
light
hold
it.
it.
And see how you feel. This idea of Asano's brother heading the clan is hopeless because he, with the rest, lose their titles. They are now Ronin, samurais with no master, something seen as lesser in society, more like a fighter for hire than an honorable samurai.
Oh, so it's literally like a disenfranchised samurai becomes a Ronin.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because they're Roman. The Roman Ronin. I know that there's different languages, so that's not how it works.
No, it's exactly
but...
that's how it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. You nailed it there with that one. The story goes that 120 of these former clan turn up when Oishi calls a meeting, 18 months now after the incident. Oishi calls for revenge. Half leave straight away. They want a peaceful resolution and don't want to cause trouble. But the others are asked to pledge allegiance to Oishi's plan. Oishi then pulls the old backhanded skidoo and tells everyone who pledged allegiance one by one that revenge was off. Those who accepted this were allowed to carry on believing that to be true. And those that were angry, furious at Oishi, and vowed to carry on regardless, well, these were the 47 Ronin.
I'm sorry, I can't approve of these kind of mind games. Okay?
I think it's great.
This is
it's
terrible because the people who are like, well, I'm going to respect what our leader has said is happening are seen as lesser than those who actually were like...
I think
disrespectful of what their leader was saying. Like, don't tell me you want one thing and then actually want something else and be upset if I don't give you the thing if I give you the thing you said you wanted, that wasn't what you wanted. Like, that's effed.
I understand what you're thinking. I get what you're saying. But you have to remember that Oishi knew where this was going to end up eventually. And he only wanted to take with him the ones that were angry, that wanted revenge. Not the ones that were just loyal to Oishi. He didn't want to just send the whole lot of them who are loyal. You're going because of me, because you're loyal to me. I need to know that you will go even without me.
I guess it's like, well, I don't want people to die just because they're trying to be loyal to me.
They have to go because they want to go, not because I've told them to go.
This has gone in my mind from being manipulative bullshit to actually really like a kind and noble thing, and noble test. So you fully, in about 30 seconds, changed my mind.
So you should probably try smoking then, if I was right about this.
You've convinced me. And that's positive peer pressure. Fuck, I wish I had a cigarette that I could just, like, later in the episode pull out and be smoking.
That is such a good... This is now where it all gets kind of fun. This is a long con. This band of Ronin, these 47, well, it's not quite 47 yet, but they take fake names and dress in disguises and all move to Edo together, living separately and becoming merchants, sword instructors, monks. Oishi himself took up the guise as an undercover drunk. He'd go to taverns and just drink all day to look as though he'd kind of given up on life. He kept his
he didn't do
titles.
like a fake... He didn't go into witness protection, as it were.
So yeah, they all go undercover, but Oishi is undercover. He pretends to be drunk so that people would look at him and think, well, he's definitely not going on a rampage. Kira was understandably happy when his network of spies told him of Oishi's condition. Kira had been kind of worried for his life. Yeah. He knew that an attack on his mansion was possible, and the revenge was a really high possibility. I mean, he had a mansion bolstered with defenses just in case, but seeing Oishi night after night drunken in a stupor, this eased his worries.
He let down his guard. Never let down your guard.
I mean, that's not a good way to build relationships, Paula. This was a con though, but even knowing the outcome, it looks like Oishi could really have been struggling. I mean, there are stories of him falling asleep on nights just in the street where other active samurai would assault him, spit on him for being just a disgrace. But in the background, Oishi had divorced his wife for her protection and disassociated with her. He'd given his son, Chikara, the option to leave instead of staying with him and to fight. Chikara would choose to fight, though.
I'd be so mad if I was the wife/mother in this scenario. But I guess that's kind of how this
it's just different
part
society.
of the culture works, right? You probably know, if you're married to a samurai, that you're going to have to deal with some stupid loyalty bullshit.
This samurai stuff you won't understand. And when I say mansion, you can see this is more than just a nice house. These were, in their own way, defensible positions. Less of a mini castle and more of a defended compound.
Oh, wow.
This ruse of acting drunk is known, by the way, as Hiru Andon, which means daylight lantern, which I think is just a wonderful name. It's appearing to be serving no useful purpose.
Oh, gosh. Wow. Yeah.
It's really lovely.
A daylight lantern.
Which I think could be the name of my anime. I'm 100% serious. So the Ronin are undercover, gathering information. Some go to work at Kira's estate to gain access to it. One guy marries the daughter of the guy who built Kira's mansion, just so he can get the floor plans, all while they secretly gathered weapons. And once one of the Ronin finds that a tea ceremony will be held there on December the 14th, 1702, a date is set for the attack.
So wait, how long were they living these little, how long were they planning this heist?
I think it was about 6 months.
Wow.
That's a long time for there to be heist music going on.
That's a long time for a montage to last.
You know? We're going to have to montage this whole thing in the show,
Just
right?
6
Come on.
months of montage.
And so it happened. Under the heavy falling snow of winter, as Kira held his ceremony in peace, 2 bands of Ronin, one led by Oishi, the other by his son, attacked the mansion. Moments before the assault, though, they sent messages to Kira's neighbours to tell them what was happening, to protect them from coming out. And the 2 groups between them killed 16 of Kira's soldiers, wounded another 20, and so began to go room by room hunting for Kira.
Oh my gosh. This is horrifying, honestly.
It's awful. Behind a large scroll on the wall, they found a secret passage to a hidden courtyard. In that courtyard were more of Kira's men who were dispatched, and then a single man was found in a small building at the back of the courtyard. Oishi identifies him by the scar Asano had left on his face. And after he's offered to commit seppuku with the same blade that Asano had used on himself...
Holy shit.
And though he refuses, Oishi took the blade and took his head.
What if that was just like a double and Kira was like, no one knows, they don't know what I look like except for this scar. So he's scarred that way like 5 other people in his compound. And he's like, hey, you got the fake.
Oh, it gives everyone scars?
Everyone has a scar. We don't know which one's the real Kira.
That's really good. I can imagine this though. In my mind, it's, you know, it's winter, the snow's falling in Japan. They go through this courtyard, it's open. You've got like the black lacquer on the buildings and the snow's falling. There's a single tree in the middle.
It's quiet.
There's blood. It's quiet, but there's blood stains on all the snow. It'd be beautiful if it wasn't so horrendous.
Yeah.
Because that's that. The battle was over. After taking the dagger and Kira's head to Asano's tomb, they then hand themselves in. They were samurai on a mission of revenge, not criminals.
Or vengeance?
Oh, it is vengeance. It is Damn it, it is vengeance.
I thought you'd learned something, Matthew.
God damn it. That's really come back to haunt me. They wanted to not be remembered as criminals. They wanted to be remembered as samurais. The shogun was impressed that they'd shown the most noble of samurai behavior in honoring their master. But they had gone against the shogun by seeking a revenge that they were told they weren't allowed to take.
Right.
They were allowed the honor of killing themselves as samurai instead of being killed like criminals, which they do, to be buried next to their master, who they had avenged. Chikara was only 16 years old when he had both fought and died by seppuku.
I hate that. I hate that. I hate that stupid Asano. Like, you have caused the death of so many people. So, like...
In a way, yes.
50 people, roughly, have to...
More like 75, 80, yeah.
Yeah, if we're thinking even just of the Ronin and not even of the others, like, obviously there's more, but, like, just the Ronin. Roughly 50 people. Obviously it's 47, and we know that because the story is named after the number, but, like, to die, frankly, in my sensibility, needlessly, in that way.
Yeah, I can see that. One man survived this punishment. He'd been ordered to go to the Ako clan to tell them what happened, and even then, he returned to face his punishment, but he was pardoned.
Wow.
He died in his 80s, where he was finally laid to rest with his comrades.
Do you think he was like, man, I have to keep living until I'm freaking 80, and everyone else got to die together, and I don't even get that? Like, do you think he saw that as like a dishonor? It's an
interesting idea.
Of some sort?
I think in the back of anyone's mind, regardless of the culture, I have to imagine
that they'd be happy that they're alive. Yeah.
Kira's son was now head of their family, and he was punished for allowing this attack to happen. He was exiled away from Edo, where he died, taking with him Kira's bloodline. And in a way, that was the fairness that the 47 Ronin were really after. This is what had happened to Asano, and now the scales are balanced. It's a really difficult story in many ways, right? It was certainly beloved throughout Japan, and it endures today. But
yeah, I mean, it's exciting. It's an exciting story.
But their actions were a personal revenge to kill a man, even though they didn't really know why Asano attacked Kira in the first place.
Well, and can you imagine if Kira's son, instead of just staying exiled, right, was like, I'm gathering up my people now, and we're going, like, there could have been, and maybe that is somewhat stopped by the fact that they all...
That's why it has to. That's why they have to die. It's one of the reasons.
Seppuku, thank you. But this really could have kicked off like a freaking
war.
Romeo and Juliet, kind of, you know, like the Capulets versus the Montagues. They're like a multi-generational family war. Exactly.
This could be civil war in Japan. This type of thing is a spark that could strike a war. It really could. That's why it has to be dealt with. And I really don't want to judge that culture.
Sure.
But it is so foreign to us. And I've not got any judgment on the actions of anyone involved. But I suppose maybe my tone has betrayed me slightly throughout this, because I feel like it seems needless to me. But I'm not in that culture. I can't understand. Because Asano could very well have just been in the wrong.
Yeah. But we don't know.
But the story shows, and one of the reasons it's so well loved, other aspects of humanity.
Yeah.
Bravery, they knew how this would end. Honor, determination, self-sacrifice.
Yeah.
They gave up everything to get what they perceived as justice.
Right.
And they did it all against the odds. I feel like you have to, in some ways, respect that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard not to see them, in other ways, as the bad guys. Even as much as Kira is villainized in this story, it's not clear-cut. It's not a story of good versus evil, but it's a clear-cut story of honor, bravery, loyalty, family, and of course, vengeance. And while I, of course, did my own research on this, I really have to point out one of my best sources, which was Let's Ask Shogun, your Japanese friend in Kyoto, on YouTube. He's got loads of videos on all of these types of subjects. Absolutely fantastic channel. I really think you should check it out. And I couldn't have done this without that.
Yeah,
so,
we'll link that in the episode description. So, yeah. Well, wow, Matthew, thank you so much for bringing us this story. I'd obviously heard of, like, the movie, right? But also knew that what happened in the movie is not, like, actually the story that gets told.
I don't think Keanu Reeves was even there.
Again, Keanu Reeves.
But if they had been, it'd have been over
y'all.
So quick. He knows gun fu, Paula. The most dangerous type of fu.
He does. The most dangerous type. That's, yeah, true.
He learned it from Christian Bale in the movie Equilibrium.
Which is a great movie.
Great. The birthplace of gun fu, I think, in Western culture. It's fantastic.
So, yeah, I actually didn't know that much about the real story of this, but had heard of it. And so thank you so much for doing this research and bringing this story, not just to me, but to our listeners.
Thank you for listening. I appreciate it a lot.
Did you enjoy this episode? Well, make sure you are subscribed to this YouTube channel. Give the video a thumbs up. Leave us a comment and let us know, did you know anything about this story already? Have you seen the Keanu Reeves version of the movie? What'd you think of it? Or anything else you might like to comment to us about, because all of those things do help us in the algorithm, which does help get the channel shared with more people who might be interested in it.
How's your day been? Let us know.
Let us know, you know?
Just type something, I think, is what Paula's getting on.
Just type anything. I don't care.
Within reason.
Matthew, thank you so much again for bringing this story to us. Really appreciate it. There's just so much here that I was vaguely aware of but didn't really know. So this was really interesting for me, and that's what matters, because you know what? F our viewers. I mean, we really love you. Thank you so much. Why don't you share us with someone who you think might also love what we're doing? that would help grow our little baby show here, and we'd appreciate it.
A lot of threats have happened in this episode, I feel like, and I'm into it.
A lot of threats, because if you don't share the show, I might start smoking cigarettes.
And do you want that on your conscience? No, you don't
want that?
It. That's
You want that?
terrible. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone.